Man, I've always. You know what? I'm gonna start the show. This is too good.
Sure, let's do it, man.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I am Sal, and with me is Jason Inman from Jawiin and DC All Access. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and check it out. It's in the description box below this video. Click it. Go there. Because it's a great channel. It's got a lot of great stuff. Geek history. Love it.
Thank you, man.
Oh, of course. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
I always love coming on anything called Elseworlds.
Right? Yeah. When Joel and I were workshopping the name, we were coming up with all these different things with comic in them, which actually is reminiscent of when we changed our name from TV Little House to ComicPOP, and we had like all these names, and we had to research, like we had to cross-reference them with other comic-related businesses.
It's tough, right?
And it was tough.
I've done the same thing, like where there's been a couple of little shows on my channel where I've been like, what do I call this? And you come up with like a great name,
yep,
and then you see that somebody has it, and you're just like, oh, damn it.
The worst is when you come up with a great name, and you find out somebody has it, and they haven't used it for like a year or two, and you're like, it's just sitting there.
Yes. There is a channel called Geek Wars.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah, and they haven't updated a video in like 2 years, but their whole channel is called Geek Wars, and I really want to use that name.
Yeah, I want that. Let me tell you, sometimes you play the waiting game, you might catch it, but oh man, when we were pitching it, my co-host Ethan was really into one name. He's like, "This is a great name," and Tiffany nixed it right out of the gate. It was called Comic Assault, and I'm like, Comic Assault.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good nixing.
Yeah, I was like, I think we want to avoid any words with like violent adjectives. So anyway. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about Spawn. More specifically, it's from the most recent news that seems to crop up for at least the last decade, in which Todd McFarlane is announcing that there's going to be a Spawn sequel. And it's gotten to the point where I could pretty much say, like, it's going to be dark, it's going to be R-rated, he'll direct it if he has to, and Spawn won't be a main character.
Yes, exactly. Spawn won't be a main character has been the repeat plot line of this movie for, a decade.
Which I've never liked. Like, every time he says it, I think, you've been threatening this for 10 years, man, or more, 20 years actually, since the first Spawn came out, and it bombed. Which is kind of surprising because it had a really kind of modest budget. As I recall it, I don't think it cost more than $100 million. I think it was like $60 million.
Well, you know what? I'm going to look up the figures while you vamp.
Yeah, good idea. Well, I remember thinking about how the movie didn't really look like it cost that much, and I know money didn't go into the marketing because while I was aware, and while we might have been aware of a Spawn movie in '97,
I saw it in theaters.
Opening day.
I saw it in theaters while on a church trip.
Oh, that's awesome. We were down the shore, and my mom, it was raining, and my mom was like, we'll go to the movies. And I'm like, we gotta see Spawn!
And it was your mom to go see Spawn?
I tricked my mom, because she was just like, well...
bless your mother, man.
She was,
God.
she has done a lot, she's taken a lot of bullets for me. And one of them was Spawn, and it was the two of us in the theater. It was opening day!
The figures of Box Office Mojo says that the production budget was $40 million.
Okay.
And the domestic gross was $54 million.
Okay, so
now worldwide it made 87. So it is just barely a hit.
Yeah,
but not a huge hit.
It made double its money back. You could put that on the poster.
Yeah.
But then you imagine, you look at like a movie like Green Lantern, which costs $230 million, and it made $250 million, and you're like, well, that's technically a profit. Like, yeah, but they spent $50 million on in addition to that on marketing, so really it's more like they lost $30 million.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. No, how big of a Spawn fan are you? Because back in the day, Spawn was one of my favorite comic books, mainly when I was a teenager,
right?
Because the artwork was like nothing else.
No, it's true.
Stands. And the coloring was like nothing else on the stands. And I think also when you're a teenager, you have a little bit of that, I would say, a love for the character that rebels against the establishment, which is exactly what Spawn is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and what's great is Spawn was birthed from rebellion, Spawn was one of those Image characters where they're like, all the artists who bailed off of Marvel came together, and they're like, everybody's got to create a character, and McFarlane's like, I got one.
Have you ever heard the reason why he named it Spawn?
No, I've never heard that one.
Okay, so Todd McFarlane, whatever you think of him, I think he is a genius businessman.
Yes.
When he named the character, because he didn't have a name, he had the design, he didn't name the character, he named it Spawn because he wanted the title to appear next to Spider-Man in the comic rack.
Oh my God!
Because people knew him from Spider-Man, and
Right.
he wanted them to just look one comic over. I think that's genius.
That's brilliant. Because Spawn, it wasn't a awkward name. It worked within the narrative of the character. Spawn also, and you know what's funny? I never heard people back then say it very often, and I don't hear it very much, but like, Spawn is literally just Spider-Man in a cape, as far as costuming goes. Like,
sort of.
The big eye.
The costume, yeah.
The big costume. Yeah, I don't mean like character-wise. That's.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever
it's quite a bit different.
Oh, no, when people are talking, I remember back in the 90s when they were like, when is Spawn going to cross over with Spider-Man? And I go, there is no similarities between those two characters besides the fact they have similar masks. Yeah. But I can imagine a Spider-Man fan either accidentally grabbing Spawn or deliberately grabbing Spawn. Either way, you're doubling your numbers based on putting it right next to them. Especially because it was right around the time when Todd left, and I guess Bagley had taken over at that point, because it was Todd, then Larson, and then I guess Bagley.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I guess like it probably had a similar art style to what they were looking for. And that's kind of cool.
It's weird because Spawn is this thing that I'm just going to say it right out. I'm going to say the elephant that everybody is thinking. And if you haven't thought about this before, then I apologize. But this is what most people think. Spawn has a much better look than story.
Yeah.
And that's 100%. And I read Spawn. I watched the cartoon. I watched the movie. I bought the toys. I sunk into that battleship like crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's all right. But I was going to say, like, this new movie, nobody's going to it for the story.
Oh, no.
We're going to it because Spawn has such an amazing look. Like, that's the thing that Todd McFarlane did. Like, Spawn looks so good.
Yes.
He just looks amazing. And that's what we want to see on the big screen, because whatever you think about that live-action movie, whenever they did the CGI cape and the really, really bad CGI cape they had, it looked awesome.
Yes. Yeah. In any incarnation, whether it's a rad toy, and those toys, by the way, like evolved in such a way where every time a new Spawn figure came out, it was even cooler than the last one.
Yeah, and it was weird because he would make all these weird other supporting characters, but for me anyway, the action figure that I always wanted was the Spawn one.
That's right. I always only wanted a big Spawn affordable statue that I could also play with.
They just announced an anniversary one that they're going to release like this fall, and I'm actually going to buy it.
That's sweet. I kind of want McFarlane to make some Spawn statues, because I've gone past the point where I want toys, but I also don't have room for them. And at this point, the only type of shelf real estate I have left is for statues, like really just big, designed statues. I
use action figures as cheap statues, as you can see right behind me.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it works for your set. It's beautiful. And
like I just bought this guy because like I think he's a cool looking Havoc, and I was like, they made a Havoc action figure. I've always looked like action figures as statues to me.
Yes, so have I. As a kid, as a kid, well into the age when it was inappropriate, I loved action figures for posability, for play, and even in college, I remember I took like a garbage bag full of action figures and like set them up on my shelf, where it's at that point I was into McFarlane, and so it was like, but the movie Maniac series.
Yeah.
So I created, and I created all these epic crossovers where it was like Terminators versus Psycho versus Aliens, and I wanted that Queen Alien so bad, and I still can't justify spending I think it's $150.
Okay.
But
I was just about to ask you how much it costs.
I think it was 150, but I remember when it first came out, it was 150, and I've seen it. I saw it at like the FYE in my town. It was
FYEs, they're long gone.
Yeah. Oh, there's still one FYE. There's one FYE at one of the malls near my neck of the woods.
Yeah, FYEs are like treasure troves for action figures. I'll tell you this.
Oh yeah. So we have a Saturday matinee, which wound up just becoming an FYE by default, and it has like all these action figures that are just left over from inventory.
Well, let's throw our conversation a little bit back to the topic at hand. Let me ask you a question, point blank. Do you think in the next 10 years we will see a Spawn live action movie?
10 years? I don't think so.
Yeah?
I really feel like it's been 20. The time, I think that the Spawn expiration date is well past due. Because like we were all down for seeing a Spawn movie in 1997. We all went, despite the fact that it was objectively terrible.
Oh, 100%.
I hate to say that.
Even President Jed Bartlett couldn't say that thing.
No, and he was only in it because apparently his like son or grandson was like a huge Spawn fan. Was like, you got an offer from Spawn, you gotta be in it.
By the way, I bought the
Jason Wynn action figure,
Martin Sheen action figure from Spawn the movie, simply for the fact so that I would have a Martin Sheen action figure.
That's awesome. So I was gonna say that way you'd have a Jason Wynn action figure because back then I was like, I don't know who Martin Sheen is.
It was more for my West Wing love, but
that makes sense. Yeah, was he in that like Teflon suit that he wears?
Yes, and they had a little thing where you could take off this piece and you could play with his heart because that's like a plot line of that movie.
Yes.
Yeah, it was terrible.
What was it called? Scorched
I don't even remember.
It was some terrible name for.
Yeah, but you could take out this little computer on his chest and you could see his heart, and you were just like, why are they giving this to kids?
Yeah, which is also great for the aftermarket when you're going to like either a garage sale or a Toy Con. You can get your Martin Sheen figure with a hole in his chest because you know that thing did not last. But yeah,
So what year do you think? Okay, you said next 10 years, that'll take us to 2026.
Yeah, 2026. I think for the no.
Not by 2026.
I don't think so. I mean, I optimistically would like to see one within a certain set of parameters, but I don't know. I mean, Todd would have to be pretty. Would have to. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that the more successful he gets, the more likely there will be for a Spawn movie.
Interesting.
But I just don't feel like the time is ever going to be right. I think that you need a perfect storm for a Spawn reboot, and I think the further away you get, the more likely it'll be, because then you'll at least have distanced yourself from the last one. Because
interesting.
I mean, people still make fun of Batman because there was a show in the 60s that made fun of Batman. And Spawn, like literally, for comic book fans, people have all measure of opinions about Spawn. He's a cool looking like tattoo, the story for my money, honestly, by the way, like I think that one of the reasons why Spawn works so well and why it was one of the few like Image originals that like has stood the test of time is a combination of great art and a rather iconic / like open-ended origin. His origin is so simple. There's no bullshit around it. He's not like an alien or a mutant or some kind of weird homeless person who lives in his own mind. He's a man who loved his wife who died. He did bad things, so he went to hell and made a deal with the devil to come back, and the devil tricked him. That's Faustian. That you can have that forever. Like that's an origin that you can tell forever. To the point where, remember Curse of the Spawn? When they were like, oh, we're going to show Spawns throughout history. And then after their future Spawn, they were like, forget it. We'll just tell side stories about Angela.
I had the Curse of the Spawn action figure.
That's awesome. That was a sweet looking outfit, but only because it wasn't the Spawn outfit. And for me, the Spawn outfit's the way to go.
You're exactly right about the origin. Like, it is a very simple origin. The problem with Spawn always is that it's the same thing. Like, it's the same problem with Lost in Space and Star Trek Voyager. Any of these shows, they put the characters where they're like lost out in somewhere.
Yeah.
The whole storyline is about when are they getting back?
Right, and that's the underlying question. Yeah.
Yeah, and with Spawn, it's like, okay, when he's going to kill the devil or when he's going to come back to life. And his whole story is pointed towards that one thing that he can never do or this series is over.
Well, yeah, I remember his power battery?
Yeah.
And they
got rid of that real quick.
Oh, issue 50, they're like, well, that's enough of that. That was around the time when I think Spawn lost its magic for me. No pun intended, but like Spawn had this
somewhere in the 60s for me that I really stopped reading.
Oh yeah, I still bought it, but I really didn't care about what was happening.
The last actual issue of Spawn that I bought, well, okay, the last issue of Spawn that I bought when I was actively reading it was 100.
Yes.
Because when that storyline, the way they end that storyline there, I was like, oh, this is the end of the series. It's over. And they kept going. But I will say that I recently bought the Spawn Resurrection relaunch they just did like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I bought that because I was like, well, I'm going to give this a shot. I like Paul Jenkins.
Right.
And I read it and I thought it was terrible.
Oh, that's too bad.
So.
Well, I remember when they retconned Spawn's origin to make it so that it wasn't even that he slaughtered people in the name of the government, and that's why he went to hell. It's because he wasn't actually impotent. His wife was pregnant, and he killed his baby in her womb by punching her. and that's
Yeah.
why he goes to hell. And I'm like,
Well,
that's really stupid.
yeah. Also, I remember too in the first like 100 issues of Spawn, it was like every 10 issues we'd have Caligstro, the hobo with the big beard.
Yep.
Like he would come up to Al Simmons and he'd be like, "Your past is not the way you remember it."
Oh my god. Well, that
And
was
we'd be like, "But wait a minute, you've changed it like 7 times on me."
yeah. Oh well, that was the thing was it was actually kind of interesting. Spawn was a great character for or gateway for me to understand how comic book politics started to function.
Oh, how so?
Because Spawn when Image was founded, they had all these creators. They worked for one company, but they all owned their characters. But they wanted to make a shared universe, so they made Chapel, one of Rob Liefeld's creations, the murderer of Al Simmons, aka Spawn.
Member of Youngblood.
Yeah, yes, member of Youngblood. And in fact, there's an amazing issue. I want to say it was number 8. No, it was like I don't remember what number it was. I'm not even going to pretend because I know it wasn't 8 because 8 was the issue. I think 8 was written by Dave Sim, and that was that weird like Cerberus crossover issue.
Yes,
which blew my mind. But
and has never been republished.
That's right.
It's not in the trades. If you buy any of the Spawn trades, that's the only Spawn issue that's never been reprinted.
That's right. It's not there. It's not digital. You can't get it in the Comixology collections or anything. Is it because Dave Sim would have to be paid for it, or is it?
Well, it's because I think Dave Sim like told him that he couldn't reprint it. I don't honestly know the real reason. Because the Grant Morrison issue has been reprinted, the Frank Miller issue has been reprinted,
the Alan Moore issue.
Alan Moore issue has been reprinted, but like I think it's Dave Sim being like, "No, you can't publish this unless it's me."
Yeah, it's so weird. It's a weird issue too because it makes Spawn into McFarlane and. Oh, anyway, my point being, so there's a cool issue where Spawn fights Youngblood and then steals Chapel and then burns his face. But anyway, after McFarlane and Rob Liefeld fell out of favor with each other, and Liefeld left the company or was ejected from the company.
He was ejected.
Oh yeah. The origin for Spawn had to change because every time that they referenced Chapel, they had to pay Rob Liefeld,
Which is the whole reason why it changed to Jessica Priest. And she was the one that killed Spawn, and that's why it changed for the movie too.
That's right. Well, I think that they also had the movie down the pipeline, and he's like, I am not giving Liefeld a cent. I have to change it really soon, otherwise there's no way that I can avoid putting Chapel in this movie.
It's the same thing that happened when Marvel in the early 2000s renamed Cable Soldier X and Soldier X was Cable, and I can't remember what they renamed Deadpool.
Oh my god, I do not remember that.
But they renamed X-Force into X-Statix.
Yes.
They renamed Cable into Soldier X, and they renamed Deadpool into something else, so that they didn't have to pay Rob Liefeld.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was a weird thing that as long as the titles were changed, they didn't have to send a single check. Cable was still in Soldier X.
Yeah,
but because the book wasn't called Cable, they didn't have to pay him.
Right. Oh god. Remember that issue?
Read your contracts, kids.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that issue of Blood Wolf that Rob Liefeld did, in which Cable just literally is in the book?
Oh no!
There's this. Don't ever look for it, but there's a character named Blood Wolf with a U. He's basically just like Lobo, but Rob Liefeld-ified, and he rides a space motorcycle that's actually a giant gun. And he's being chased by Cable, but the X on his lapel or whatever is a Y. Anyway, the 90s.
Here's what I think, man. Like I don't know if we'll ever see a Spawn live action movie.
Yeah.
I don't think will happen. I just don't think that a studio is gonna pony up that money.
No.
For that character anymore, because because that Spawn movie came out at the height of Spawn's popularity. Like Spawn was insane at that time because the toys were going crazy, the comics were selling well, and he had that HBO cartoon at the same time.
That's right. No, it was.
And then the movie came out all at the same time.
1997. They called it the year of Spawn because that was when it was all happening.
I mean, I'd rather call it the year of Spawn than the year of Batman and Robin. So
Oh no. And what's amazing is you had Spawn inundating pop culture. It was being sold at like every toy store. You could get the Spawn mobile.
Toy store. Yeah, Walmart's had Spawn toys.
Yeah, exactly. My grandmother found them in her like Bradley's or whatever. I was like, you have Spawn toys? I want them.
Yeah, it's I love that your grandma's buying Spawn toys.
I know.
Awesome.
I sent my 70 to 80-year-old grandma in Brooklyn, who was 4'7", to a Comic-Con to get me Spawn number 1, 9, and I don't know, 10 or whatever. And she got them for me. I'm like, thanks, Grandma. I don't know how. I would love to have seen that experience. Like, watch my grandma go, because it was in the 90s. Like, go to a church basement and then try to haggle with this like actual comic book retailer. It'd be amazing. But
By
anyway,
the way, I'm going to call somebody out in your chat. John DeLorenzo is making up drama about saying that I dissed the company that I work for. Oh snap! I don't know what crap you're making up, John DeLorenzo, but have fun with that drama.
Yeah.
We're moving back to Spawn.
Exactly. Moving on.
But I always try to address that.
Yes.
So I don't think there's going to be a Spawn live action movie.
No.
But you know what I would love to see, and I think would be an amazing, amazing thing, because for me, and you can say yes or no whether you agree with me or not.
Yeah.
I think the best Spawn has ever been was the HBO cartoon.
Easily. Oh, well, because it's a distillation of everything that worked for Spawn within a perfect time slot. Like, it was, and format. You could do anything. So you don't have to spend a ridiculous sum of money to make Spawn accomplish all the things that he does. And you didn't have to worry about selling individual issues, so you could tell a concise story within a very limited amount of episodes.
Well, Tubya Smolka, he suggested, what about a Netflix show? If it was an animated Netflix show, I think that would be a genius idea.
Yes.
And Netflix would be a perfect place for it. But I think Spawn as an animated series would allow you to feel like the amazing McFarlane cape, the amazing Capullo like art styles, and that way we can bring back Keith David as the voice of Spawn.
Yeah, because he never ages. He sounds exactly like he did 20 years ago. And he even voiced that really cool video game that was on PS2 that was a Spawn.
Did he really?
Have you ever played
that Spawn video game?
I never played it. I always saw ads for it and was like, why can't I have a PS2? Like, I missed all of them. I did play the Genesis game though.
Oh, I didn't know there was a Genesis game.
It's real bad.
The PS2 game is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I got to a point of it where there was like a level that I couldn't beat, but there was a really cool. You know how Batman the Arkham games does this thing that when Batman dies, the villain like call them out.
Yes.
In the Spawn game, when you died, Malbolgia came up through the ground and pulled you to hell.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because it had the power meter and you ran out of power.
Right. Was that the one where you could rip the arms off your enemies and beat them with it?
Yes, and you had all kinds of like weapons and stuff like that, and you could use stuff in the environment. Yeah, Spawn Armageddon. That's right. That's exactly what it was called. It was a pretty fun game.
Did you have the Soul Calibur game in which you could download Spawn and play?
No, but I always wanted to play it.
I did too, and I never got it. I had the one with Link. Yeah, so
they went pretty crazy with that stuff because they
pulled in Star Wars.
Yeah, they had Yoda in one of them.
Yeah, like the Xbox version had Yoda and the PlayStation one had Vader, which was like, oh well, then I guess Xbox users could suck it because I don't want to play with Yoda. I want Vader to kill, I don't know, whatever characters there were. Talon.
That's another venue that I think Spawn could come back into would be video games, because there are two really awesome Darkness video games.
Yes.
And Spawn could totally like
just ape off that.
Yeah, you could just ape that game system, or imagine a Spawn video game that's in the style of Arkham Knight.
Yeah. Oh, Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is basically just now it's a template by which all other superhero video games need to just follow.
Yeah, I know exactly. I've been saying for years that I would love to have an Arrow game.
Oh yeah.
On the Arkham Knight engine. You
know, it's funny. Do you remember Supermax? That movie that never happened?
I read the script, dude.
Yeah, like that is basically just Arkham Knight or Arkham Asylum, but with Arrow. It's a perfect formula. It totally works.
I'm one of the few that I say that I would have loved to have seen that movie.
That would have been a mindfuck in a way where you're like, if they'd kept a lid on who it was and everything, and just released Supermax and just been like, you're watching, you're enjoying it, and then all of a sudden it's Green Arrow, and you're like, what?
Green Arrow's in the opening scene. Hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else said, like, Tevya said, do Spawn with an Infamous style game. That would work.
Yeah.
Especially if you had the meter, like, going towards good or evil.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
And then, oh, wait, here you go. And then you could make it even crazier, because if he goes pretty far to the good guy side, he could get the angel wings,
Yes!
just like a cover.
Man, that was a real disappointment in the comics when they like were hinting towards the idea that maybe Spawn is going to change and become like and then they were just like, no,
it was just a cover.
It was just the cover. When I was talking about how like Spawn kind of introed me to the idea of like what comic politics were all about, you know, like you learned about the infighting between Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane. You also saw McFarlane the businessman and why he had such a problem with other creators like John Byrne or other folks like that. Where he was just like he would do things like put Spawn and Angel Wings on the cover so that he could justify making an action figure out of it. The cover was just a marketing tool for his toy company.
Well, apparently, so I was doing some research because, again, like I said earlier, like you cannot have any kind of Spawn conversation without like the massive talking about the McFarlane toys where they made. I'm looking at this website on Spawn World right now. They've made, oh good lord, at least 40 series of Spawn action figures. And apparently, I was reading on Wikipedia, this trustful source, that apparently he was working with Mattel to produce action figures, and apparently he didn't like any of the prototypes they gave him.
I believe it.
So he made his own company, and it was originally... And here's the funny thing. I remember seeing Series 1 of Spawn action figures in a Walmart, and I bought the Spawn action figure because it came with a comic book in the back.
Yes.
The original, and... It says Todd's Toys.
It's Todd Toys. They had a special logo. It was blue with the T. And I remember TV commercials for Todd Toys Spawn.
Oh yeah, you saw TV commercials? I didn't know they did that.
Oh yeah, you YouTube them and I'm sure they're there. But
Todd Toys.
They were like Todd Toys, and you're like, what? And then apparently Mattel was making a Todd Ken action so like they wanted like a character, you know, Kim or
oh my
like
God, I found it.
Excellent.
Oh my God, I found this thing.
You know, like how Barbie had like a little friend.
These kids are like, Spawn!
Spawn! Even as a kid, I was like, there's no kid out there that's this excited for Spawn. Like, nobody is like, wow, they finally have medieval Spawn!
Yeah.
Which, by the way, like...
I remember one of them, I can remember a friend of mine, he got his mom to buy him because they made the giant Malbolgia.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 times... It was huge, man! And I remember being so jealous of that action figure.
I wanted it so bad. I saw it loose for sale at a comic book store about a month ago, and I almost bought it just because it was $10, and I'm like, no, it was 20 and it was in box, and I was like, I don't have any room for a giant Malbolgia in my life anymore.
Yeah,
that time has passed.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It was so cool.
I mean, it's like one of those action figures. Like, I recently saw D Space 9 action marbles.
Okay.
And I bought them because I thought they were so silly.
Yeah.
Like, see, certain toys like Malbolgia, man, like, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it so you can sit it in the corner of your office and people be like, what the hell is that?
Oh, that's the devil from the 8th circle of hell.
There you go. Exactly.
You know, there's many different levels and they each have their own devil. He's the one in charge of spawns.
I also remember, too, when they started doing, with Spawn, they started doing, like, they would do, like, these actually, like, super articulated... super cool looking action figures. And that's the reason why I went crazy about them, because at the time in the 90s, they were the best looking action figures on the shelf.
Oh, like, yeah.
By far. And they were actually articulated. You could move them around. But then they made a switch.
Yes.
And they started becoming, like you said, basically statues where they were just recreating artwork from the comic book.
Yeah. And
they're no longer action figures, even though they called them action figures.
Yes. They were basically just 3D dioramas and cheap affordable statues. They were they're basically like the Hot Toys or Kotobukiya of action figures, but you could get them at a Walmart or Toys R Us.
100%, because I remember I had one, and I don't even know what happened to this guy, but it was like the Spawn of the cover where he's on the ceiling and he's all like bent over. So Spawn is hunched over and his cape covers him, but he's just like hunched over like this.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that's all that figure can move. There's no moving piece on this action figure.
I had one. I had the one where he's in the chair made of corpses.
Oh yeah.
And he's just sitting there, and his hand is out, and he has a skull in it, and it's literally just a cover recreation. But it was so cool. I didn't give a shit. I bought it. I had it in college. I had it on my shelf, and people would look at it and go, "Really?"
Oh yeah.
They were like, "How melodramatic! Like, what the hell?" And I'm like, "Oh well, he's a tortured man."
They made a Wanda one as well.
Did they make a Wanda figure?
Where it was like Wanda in her wedding dress.
Oh.
And you're just like, oh, why? Who needs this?
Yeah, who would ask for this? In a world where there's a drought of female action figures, we need to get Wanda in the wedding dress.
Wanda in a wedding dress. Let me throw this question out to you. Okay, so we talked about Spawn. We talked about Spawn toys and stuff like that.
Right.
Is there an original image, so like one of the original Image books, that you think could work as a movie?
I mean, like, here's the thing. We're in a world where, you know, I think you could make almost anything into a movie at this point.
Agreed.
Like, I really do. Like, even with Spawn, I think there is a world where we could have a really solid Spawn movie. I think that you could have a really kick-ass Savage Dragon movie.
You could. I mean, although, again, I go back to the thing where I'm like, man, I think Savage Dragon would make an amazing Adult Swim show.
Oh my god, that's like why haven't they even done that yet?
Yeah,
that's like
there was a Savage Dragon cartoon.
There was. It was on USA, and it was
terrible.
It was real bad. It didn't even have the benefit of a killer theme song like Wildcats did.
Oh man, I love that Wildcats show.
Yeah, Tiffany watched it when she had no context for superheroes. Her shows were literally X-Men and Wildcats. I was like, Wildcat? I remember watching the theme and just going like, oh no.
Yeah, the theme song, they just keep repeating Wildcats, Wildcats, Wildcats,
And
Wildcats.
The lyrics are just like, they have invincible powers. I'm like, they're not invincible. There's no drama there if they...
I had all those action figures too, man. I love them.
McFarlane made them. Like, or rather he made...
No, it was Playmates.
Playmates made the Wildcats
because they're really crappy and they don't have elbows.
Yeah, but McFarlane made he made like some of his friends' action figures. Like I remember there were a couple of Youngblood figures that he made.
He did do a Youngblood series.
Yeah.
I had the McFarlane, the Max.
Oh, I have my Max. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, I don't know where mine is either. There's some action figures that I used to have that I've like lost in the several moves that I've done in my life.
Yeah, I always love I have my Max. I had him up here for a while, and then I was at a garage sale about a year ago, and there was a Max in box. I'm like, purchased. That was one I didn't even think twice about because I lost the headdress. So I'm like, done.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But yeah, man, the Max. That's a thing. That's a show that I've been avoiding for a long time because I don't think there's an audience for the Max anymore.
No.
I think that's proven by the new IDW Maximized series, which is just Sam Keith's The Max, but recolored.
Yeah, it's very much a thing of its time.
Yeah.
Although, really is.
Like we said, that show perfectly distilled the Max. Number one, perfectly recreated the comics, the first like at least 12 issues of the book. Made it really, really cool, and the serial fashion of the book really lent itself to a like 15-minute long show on MTV. And when you watch it, it's like the voice acting is on point, the animation is fucking really, really great, the music kills. It's just, if nothing else, the Max created the Max cartoon show, which is just a perfect version of that character. But even then, like, you could do a Max movie if it was like direct to Netflix and it was directed by like David Fincher or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Like if because like imagine because with the Max you got like the Outback where it's just this war-torn Fury Road meets Dr. Seuss world. That lends itself to any number of crazy images and just really, really sweet direction that you could take it. It's and of course like I mean like it reminds me of do you remember The Cell with Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It reminds me of The Cell in as much as you have one level of existence and then you transcend it into like this wacky, off-the-wall, high art version of reality, and it's like, this is cool. Like I always attributed the Max to like a comic book juvenile version of The Cell, which is still not a great movie, but you know, but the visuals are on point.
It's crazy. Yeah, you know, we were talking about that. I'm trying to think of like some other of the original Image comics that would work.
Shadowhawk would work.
Yeah, Shadowhawk could work if you updated his costume.
I mean, I don't know. It's just basically Silver Batman with Wolverine mask.
Yeah, it's true. I just think like you'd really have to update his costume because I think it would be a little weird.
He would.
I think Wildcats. I think you could do a really interesting version of Wildcats on TV if you did the Wildcats 3.0.
Oh yeah,
you know, which is a great series. Cyberforce, I don't know if that would
Cyberforce
work.
didn't even work as a relaunched comic book series.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you can make Cyberforce work nowadays. I think it's too much of its time.
Yeah.
Especially for a movie anyway. I don't know if Cyberforce can work as a movie.
No, I don't think so. I think you'd have a hard time getting anyone to show up.
Wetworks would be the same way, I think. Wetworks is a tough sell as a movie.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But yeah, Savage Dragon I think would be an amazing like Adult Swim cartoon.
That's a $1 million idea.
Yeah. It's like something like make it in the like style of Axe Cop and done.
Yep, that's it. And
You know?
you could either make it like the 15-minute long show or a 30-minute series like Rick and Morty or Venture Brothers.
Yeah, do it both ways. Why not?
Yeah.
You know?
God, man. Yeah, that's a solid idea. Crap. Other Image characters that would work in or not work.
Just in general.
I mean, look at like the Wildstorm audience. Like Team 7 works because it's basically just like any mercenary team. It's basically just Suicide Squad.
Yeah, you could make Team 7. Yeah, you could just make it Suicide Squad. I mean, they kind of tried to do that in the New 52.
Yes, and
with that Team 7 series.
Yeah, but yeah.
I actually was really excited about that series when it was first announced because I was like, perfect, great, because I love the Wildstorm characters. But yeah, they didn't really execute it that well.
No, that's the problem. Is that like it's a great idea, and you need to have someone who really, really wants to like legitimize Team 7 or the Wildstorm brand.
Yeah.
What was it? Gen 13 would be a show.
Gen 13, I think, could really work. I think Gen 13 is prime to come back.
It's like literally every couple of years, there's an opportunity for Gen 13 to come back on the scene and work, and it never makes it because every time I've seen it try and come back, ever since DC acquired Wildstorm, like the execution has been like, for the Gen 13 characters, because it's like they don't treat them like a team. They're like, okay, we'll introduce Fairchild, and then we'll do the other characters over time, and it's like, no. The plot of enhanced super beings who are the byproduct of enhanced super beings that are like captured by the government and forced to manifest their powers, like that's a cool concept. I think it still works. It's just that the way it was executed back in the day was all about the cheesecake and the opportunity to show really neat guns and cool like stormtrooper costumes, but like you could take that premise of
you
teens.
Could make a Gen 13 like Netflix show and really make it work.
Yeah, because their powers are also like a guy's on fire, one's strong, and another person can like make rain. Like you're fine.
100%.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap.
Totally make it work.
Yeah. I mean, if S.H.I.E.L.D. can make Absorbing Man work, you can make Grunge work anytime.
Yeah, that's 100% right. Another series that I think could really work, they just republished, is Divine Right.
Oh, I don't remember Divine Right.
Divine Right was like this Wildstorm series that they made like right before they sold it to DC, and it was about this guy that finds out he has powers. Jim Lee drew it.
Oh.
But it would be prime for a movie.
Yeah.
Because it's all about an everyman basically getting powers.
Okay, I'm sold. Like that's a cool premise.
Yeah.
And Jim Lee art.
Yeah, Jim Lee drew the series. Yeah,
that's worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, but it was like right before. It was literally like the month before they sold it to
oh.
Yeah.
And they probably
finished.
had to, yeah.
It finished. They just republished it actually.
Oh,
DC
cool.
just republished it. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of some other Image stuff, but yeah, most of the other Image stuff are like nowadays, especially Image seems to be the company that like comic artists or comic writers go to pitch the thing that they want to be a movie.
Yes, I've heard that criticism a lot. Sometimes they work as comics and sometimes they don't. It's definitely just like they are trying to like just do their Cowboys and Aliens pitch where they're just like, okay,
yeah, they're trying to do their Mark Miller.
Yeah, they're Mark Miller.
Yeah.
Now Witchblade,
yes,
technically Top Cow, and had a movie and a show and a cartoon.
Did it have a movie?
I thought it had like a TV movie.
Oh, okay. I knew it had the show. It had like 2 seasons of the show.
Yeah, and there was an anime, and I think an animated movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that could work. I don't know if you could do the one that Turner wanted to see, where it's just naked chick with scabs.
The crazy thing about it is that I think Witchblade is prime for a comeback. Because Witchblade is, I would say, probably the strongest female Image character.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Like, who else is there? If you were thinking about a strong female character from Image, who is it?
That sold their own book? I mean, like, Witchblade, titular character.
Their own book.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, like, besides Lazarus, what else you got?
I mean, there were, it's funny. This is actually an argument that I've had for Marvel, because every time they talk about like strong female characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're like, why? Like, why aren't there any? Like, why haven't they really pushed it? It's because most of them are X-Men.
Yeah.
You know, like exactly. Storm, Rogue, Jean Grey, Emma Frost. Like, you got like a whole team of really strong female characters. I think Wildcats has some pretty strong female characters. You got Voodoo, you got Zealot. Void, you got Zealot. All of them are really interesting, strong female characters. Just they're just relegated to a team, and they couldn't probably sell their own book. Maybe Zealot.
Yeah, Zealot could probably do it. It's kind of the same thing. You have the same problem when you go to the Authority.
Yes.
Because, like, the Engineer is really strong, and then Jenny Sparks is really strong, and
right.
But they work because they're part of that team.
Yeah. What did they ever have they made Zealot into an Amazon yet? Like have they said she's from Themyscira yet?
The last time I remember seeing her in DC, she was in Deathstroke. Because when Rob Liefeld wrote and drew Hawkman and Deathstroke at the same time, he like just doubled down on all the Wildstorm characters.
Okay.
He made Zealot show up in Deathstroke. That's the last time I remember seeing her in the She might have shown up sooner. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the chat.
Oh, right.
So, I don't know. But, no, I miss them. I miss the Wildcats.
Yeah.
I really do, and I kind of hope they come back.
I mean, like, they're anytime. And just Jim Lee could just do the covers.
Sure. Sure.
You know, it'd be a great movie that would work from Image.
Sure.
Pit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like Evil Hulk?
A Boy and His Monster. I think that's awesome. That's a movie, or at least a series. But like, sure. I think that Pit works with little Timmy. But yeah.
I mean, you could do it, I guess. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny, I was actually just looking up a few Image characters just from the Pantheon.
Interesting.
Just to remind myself who exists. I'm like, oh, right, Pit! Because Pit was a really neat idea, and I remember everybody wanted to see Pit versus Hulk, and I'm like, no, that's not what he's doing. Somebody said, just some guy with a mustache is like, whatever happened to Wildcats Gambit with guns? Oh, you mean Grifter? They still use Grifter.
I love Grifter.
Yeah.
You watched it.
Hell, Grifter was in Flashpoint. Grifter has been used the most. He
was in Future's End.
Yeah. Oh, no, they definitely use him.
You know, it's interesting. I'm surprised that there hasn't been a Supreme movie there.
That's weird.
With all the Superman stuff going on.
I think they're probably just worried about, like, comparisons and
copyrights and stuff like that. Yeah, I could see that.
You release a character with a cape that can fly that's super strong and has super technically kind of in like sideways in the title. I think people would be like, I think Warner's would have an issue.
You know, here's an interesting character that I'm surprised hasn't gotten an animated series is Madman.
Oh, Madman.
Mike Allred's Madman.
That I'm surprised that wasn't a Fox Kids television show during the time of The Tick and Rusty and the boy robot.
And also the Madman copy, Freakazoid.
Oh my god. Freakazoid is literally just a ripoff of Madman.
I mean, I love Freakazoid, but he's a ripoff of Madman.
I loved Freakazoid too, and it was funny being a comic fan and living in that world where I'm like, I do like Freakazoid, but that is just totally a ripoff. And then seeing Mike Allred be like, I'm trying to get money, but it's not working.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like I remember back in the day, especially in the day of like 90s 90s cartoons, there were a lot of rip-off cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody cared.
No, yeah. Well, it was the Wild West. Back then, they were like, well, these comics are a depreciating asset. They got no legs. And yet they still managed to make some pretty solid properties out of them. I mean, like, just thinking about The Tick, like, The Tick was a book that was practically self-published by Edlund and came out, like, I think one issue every 5 years. And got a three season show out of it that everyone still loves and remembers and compares to next level incarnations of the Tick, to the point where like the live action version with what's his name, Patrick Warburton.
Yes, I love that show.
I could not stand that show.
I love that show.
That's so bizarre.
I like that show better than the Amazon one.
The Amazon one is basically not even the Tick.
Hey, I have a question for you. Somebody, Jake Stanley said in the comments, Sal will never do Future's End.
Nope.
Do you have like hate against Future's End?
I really do, and
Okay.
a really really awesome member of our audience sent me all 3 volumes of Future's End to cover on back issues, and I don't know. I don't want to talk about Future's End. It's just
Well,
like
here's the thing. If you ever do Future's End on back issues, I want to be on it because I read that series
yeah.
and I think it gets way more flack than it deserves because there are some strong character arcs in it.
Right.
Now, I'm first to admit that a lot of it is just what the hell.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of people tell me that that's the worst comic book that like DC has ever published.
Oh,
Which
it's not.
To me, is completely false. That's called Countdown.
Oh man.
Countdown is terrible.
I do have Countdown.
Well, Countdown is 50 times worse than Future's End.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But if you ever do Future's End, I will do it.
All right, I'll hang on to it. And
I'll do Countdown with you too.
I mean, yeah, I got both of them. I fear doing Countdown. I fear that no one will watch that one. They'll be like, God, yeah.
That's probably you're probably right on the money, actually.
But no, Future's End. I read the 0 issue, and then I read a couple of the number ones, like those holographic number ones they released, and I'm like, I don't care about anything that's happening.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about it's interesting because especially like with the weekly series and stuff like that, you know how like you have like you're following like 5 characters.
Well, like 52 nailed it.
Well, 52 you liked every single character.
Well, yeah.
And that's something that's tough because that's a tough thing to do. And Countdown, like there wasn't a single character you liked in that book.
No.
And with Future's End, the reason why I think it's a lot better than Countdown is because there are a couple storylines in there that are better than the others. It's just that the others really drag the story down. You know. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to do it now than ever before. So you're welcome, audience, I guess. Oh,
yeah.
man.
And also, Amazing Zero just said, Future's End doesn't touch Cry for Justice. Yes, he's exactly right.
Cry for Justice
is way worse.
I have Cry for Justice, and I've been thinking about doing it every couple of weeks, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. The art's amazing, but like, damn.
You know, going back to the Image thing, and talking about Image people that could be adapted. I've been going through this list. Science Dog for Saturday mornings.
Yeah, that's a Saturday morning. Oh, I do not remember Science Dog as clearly as I should.
He's the comic book that Mark Grayson reads in Invincible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then there's a storyline where like Science Dog actually talks to him. Yeah, it's like I'm forgetting. Like some alien species like says like, oh, we took a form that you would appreciate, and it's Science Dog, and he's like, but I know Science Dog is fictional.
Right. And they're like, that's
fine. And they're like, whoops.
Invincible's a great thing that
I'm
think
so sad that is ending.
I mean, like, I love when things have a conclusion, so I'm glad that at least it's going to tie up. Because Kirkman, thank you.
Yep.
Hard K and an M at the end, and a man at the end. But yeah, Kirkman. Yeah, I'm one of like the few people on the planet doesn't like Walking Dead.
I am with you.
I just can't get into it. Like I read the first volume, and I'm like, ugh. And
here's what I'll say about Walking Dead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no. Go ahead.
I read Walking Dead for the first 50 issues.
Yeah, I read the first 60 issues, and I was like,
yeah, okay. And I like everything up until the prison, basically.
Right.
Like the prison to me kind of ends their storyline.
Yeah.
And they kept going, and I read all the way to like issue 100 anyway, just to kind of see what was going on.
Yeah.
And for me, The Walking Dead just keeps repeating its arcs. It's like, hey, we found a place of safety. No, it's not safe.
Yes.
Hey, we found a place of safety. No, it's not safe.
Right.
Hey, and you're just like, God damn it, I don't care anymore.
And each time we found a new horrible human being that's going to wreck everything.
Yeah.
And we're The Walking Dead. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah. Oh, you thought the governor was bad? Well, here's some cannibals.
Exactly.
Oh, you thought the cannibal was bad? Well, here's Negan with a
bat
barbed wire bat.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I remember when Kirkman announced it, he was like, "The thing about it is, since back then when he like I'm in charge of Image, I got total editorial control. I'm never going to end it, and I don't have a planned ending, and anyone can die." I was like, "That's not a story. You're doing a gimmick. That like you can choose to do like that. I don't why there's no hook for me. Like you're just basically saying that you're writing for fun, and that's nice." That's called a webcomic. That's not a book that I'm going to buy that's going to be put together.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird because, to be honest with you, I would have loved to have seen Invincible. I kind of want to see Invincible the way that he originally described it, where he was going to be like, where he talked about how he was just going to leave the book and give it to other teams.
Yeah.
And kind of let that happen. I was excited because he said in one interview that he said that the team that he got agreed to take over the book after he was gone, he said would have blown our minds. And I'm just like, did he convince like Alan Moore to come back and write Invincible? Like,
right?
Who did he get?
I bet
like,
he
who
did.
Who did he get?
You probably did get Alan Moore. You could. I mean, like, if
Todd
anyone,
McFarlane and Alan Moore do Invincible.
Oh my god. I mean,
something like crazy like that. Like I think that's what he would have gone somebody heavily Image.
Oh yeah.
Or imagine if he got Mark Miller.
Yeah. Mark Miller would have done a nice... Well, I don't know. It depends on what mood Miller was in when he was writing it. Miller's Invincible would have either been like even more depressing and dark and like politically charged, or it would have been iconic.
Well, the thing about it is that what many people don't know, I love Mark Miller a lot. Mm-hmm. I like his individual books. They're hit or miss for me. I usually like it's every other one I like basically. Because I did not like Nemesis, but I love Chrononauts.
Okay.
And I love Superior.
Yes.
Mark Miller got his start in comic books writing the Superman Adventures.
Oh, yeah.
The animated tie-in to the Bruce Timm.
Right.
And you go back and read those issues, and you can tell this guy loves Superman. Mm-hmm. So I think if you were to give him Invincible and just be like, write it like the son of Superman, he would have gave us a run kind of like Alan Moore's Supreme.
Yeah, all right, that's true. That would have been pretty awesome. I didn't realize, I forgot that he loved Superman so much. I mean, like, it makes sense.
Yeah, although the thing is that there are some rumors going around about why Invincible actually ended. I'm not going to say any of them on the air, but
fair enough.
they're floating around out there, and they're apparently not what he's been saying online.
Gotcha. All right.
According to the rumers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and this is all speculation. There
are some interesting rumors out there about why Invincible is actually ending, and it's interesting.
Well, before we tie it up with one more discussion about Spawn, I'll toss out one other character that didn't start out as an Image character, then was Image, and then left Image, and then went back to their own self-publishing print, and that's Bone. Jeff Smith's Bone.
I wonder if you're going to say Bone.
Bone needs to be a movie series, like.
Bone needs to be a cartoon.
Well, like Bone's self-contained. Bone should be either like like a CG movie series or like a show of some kind, but just follow the formula.
It would make a fantastic 3-movie trilogy.
Oh yeah,
like it has 3 acts in it. You could do it as 3 movies. The interesting thing. Okay, here's the real question about that: do you do it CGI or do you do it hand drawn? I would prefer hand drawn.
I mean, it would be more expensive to do it hand-drawn.
Yeah.
It would depend on who did it. Like, I'd want to blend. Either I'd want it to be CG.
Something like the Peanuts movie?
Yeah, something like the Peanuts movie.
Okay.
Or, do you remember that short? It was about paper. It was about the guy and the woman. It was like black and white.
Yeah, like I think Pixar made that.
Yeah, I think
Disney
Pixar made that. Yeah, it was Disney's, where it was like a blend of hand-drawn and CG, but about the piece of paper that the dude throws, and it's...
Yeah. So something in that style?
Something like that. Yeah, where kind of where you can approximate Jeff Smith's pencils, but make them real and vibrant.
Yeah. By the way, some people in the comments are like, "Is Bone good?" And it's like, yes, it is. It's one of the best comic book series of all time.
Yeah, it's never not been good. There's lulls. Like for me, like you could skip Rockjaw.
It's a long book because I have the big complete version.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. I gotta tell you, man. Like I was growing up when it was coming out, and I loved it as black and white. But Scholastic's colors are really awesome.
Oh, I've never read any of the Scholastic color one. It's kind of like Scott Pilgrim. I've never read the colored Scott Pilgrim because I'm kind of like, well, it was published in black and white.
It should be, right? Like it's meant to be black and white. Bone is only made better with color.
Interesting. Yeah, but a Bone movie would kill. It would
Right?
be so good. But yeah, it would be a really. You could probably do it in 2 movies even.
Yeah, you could. Well, I mean, here's the thing: you'll probably only get two. You know, like if you're in a world
Yeah.
where like they're not with book adaptations, like Series of Unfortunate Events or Spiderwick Chronicles or any other Aragon.
It,
You know-
it also like I know we keep going back to the Netflix battle, but Bone would be like an amazing like Netflix movie, like in the turn like kind of like The Little Prince.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm worried that because your titular character is is a cartoon, your budget will go away if it needs to be animation or CG because he's fake. Like the main characters are not real, so you need to make them work before you can get anything else working. But yeah, man, we've heard rumblings of a Bone movie since it came out.
It's one of those like Jeff Smith is he's very guarded about Bone. It's the same as Bill Watterson with Calvin and Hobbes.
Right.
And I admire and I'm frustrated by it.
Yes.
Because I'm kind of like, man, I think this would be such an amazing movie, but I also understand the creator's point where they're like, no, it's a comic, and that's what it should exist as.
Right, I agree. Well, for me, I'm with respect to comparing Watterson and Smith. I agree with Watterson that I never want to see like a movie of Calvin and Hobbes or a show or a calendar or like anything except for my custom doll of Hobbes. But Bone works. It doesn't. It's not like it plays with the format or it changes the genre or it challenges how comics are read and built. It was the medium that Jeff Smith chose to tell his story, and it allowed him to shoot for the stars. We're in a world now where you could just make Bone and kind of on the cheap, and it would still look great. Like if you made Bone in 1996, there's no way. It'd be like $600 million, and it would flop. You could make Bone.
You could,
and it would work. You could do it with taste and dignity, and also you're in a world where like the creator would be the executive producer. Like Smith would have total creative control over it anyway.
It also let him direct the movie.
Right.
He works in animation too.
Yeah, exactly. Dude knows how to shoot a scene or how to how to plot out. I mean, like you look at the comic, it's basically like storyboards.
It also would be, I think Bone would really hit this itch that for me Kubo and the Two Strings hit. Have you seen that movie?
I've not seen it, but I hear so many good things about it.
One of the best movies of this year.
Shit.
By far. So good. And it's one of those movies that you're like, okay, kids can enjoy this, but it's adult enough that I can enjoy it too.
Nice.
And that's what Bone would be as well.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh no, you'd have a whole new renaissance.
I like that our conversation about a hell spawned from hell turned into Bone.
Turn into a family-friendly cartoon movie that everybody would enjoy.
Oh, Bone.
At the end of the day,
I want a plush Bone. I need to get it.
Yeah, I had one. I gave it to a friend, and then they threw it away. You know what I did with it? I mailed it to SourceFed Nerd.
You did?
Yeah, back when SourceFed Nerd first launched, I mailed them my phone Bone doll. And it was in the background of the set of the commentary set until
but it's not there anymore.
Until they changed it when it was when they launched SourceFed Nerd. They had Phone Bone all over the place. Like he was on top of the arcade machine, he was in the cubbies, and then eventually just went away. I assume that someone who worked on production, probably Wooldridge, liked the doll and took it home with them.
Oh, DJ?
Yeah. Because he's the comic guy. I assume he's like, a Phone Bone like doll.
It's so funny because I'm going to see DJ. We're talking about DJ Woolridge, who's this amazing editor of SourceFed Nerd, everybody out there if you don't know. And he's done a couple videos on my channel. I'm going to see him on Friday. I'm going to have to ask him.
Yes, ask him if he made off with the Phone Bone doll.
I've never seen it there. Because I know if I would have seen it there, I probably would have tried to steal it.
Right, you would have been like, all right. And then it would have been this great like YouTube drama in which Phone Bone will be in the background of everyone's show over the years.
Oh my God, can we start something like that?
Right?
Can we like have some piece of something that like goes through every one of our sets?
That'd be amazing.
Would be amazing.
Yeah, like a prop or a replica of some kind.
Stanley?
Yeah.
Can we create this here? I don't know if I have anything in the background.
Yeah. I
have lots of stuff in the background. Let me see. I don't know.
Right?
It's got to be something big, though.
Yeah, it's got to be noticeable.
right here, I kind of want to be like, I could do this little like snow trooper from The Empire Strikes Back, but you'll never see him.
No, he's too. Yeah, exactly. I have a couple of like the little Marvel bobbleheads. I got some. I do have a lot of toys. You know what?
What about a Zoidberg?
Why not? Why not?
What about a Zoidberg?
Right?
Okay, we're gonna start this. All right, I will happily donate my Zoidberg to this.
All right.
Sal, you give me your address.
Okay.
Or I will bring it to you in New York.
In October, in 2 weeks.
Yep. And you add this to your set.
All right.
Zoidberg. And then you pay it forward to somebody else.
I will. Yeah, I'll send it to like Benny or something.
Benny or Rob or somebody or It's Super Effective, whoever.
Yeah.
NerdSync, whatever. And then with the idea that eventually
it'll come back.
It comes back to me.
Yeah, I love that idea.
I think this is cool.
Yeah.
The Zoidberg challenge as well.
Yeah. Here we go.
Remember the Zoidberg. Okay, that's cool. All right.
Yeah.
Boom. Right, I like that we started this.
You've seen history in the making. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wrapping up, the Spawn movie was garbage. I don't think there's ever going to be another one.
I don't think so either.
If there is, if you want to make a Spawn movie, make it a Sam and Twitch movie with Spawn in the background.
Yeah. There is a really good fan film.
I saw that. It's
good.
It's good. It's weird. Like I don't even I remember watching it and people were like, "You got to watch this thing," and I'm like, "This is pretty good," but I don't know what the hell's happening.
Mm-hmm. But they kind of reminded me of the idea that they were talking about, where like what McFarlane wants to do, where Spawn's not really the lead.
Yeah, he's more like a myth.
He's set dressing.
Yeah, he's the catalyst for things, and I'm like, what? Then what the hell is your movie called? Like, cause
I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I guess I remember he approximated it to Jaws.
Yes.
And I guess that's cool, but I also would rather just look at the whole appeal of Spawn is just see him.
Yes. Yeah. It's him. Yeah.
So I don't know, but anyway, we got all over the place. We talked about indie books. We relegated it to mostly image books.
I think it was pretty independent. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We kept it independent. I think it worked, and it was all in a natural flow. So I didn't see any complaints from the chat, so I think it worked.
Oh my god, we gotta say. I don't know how to say your name. Metaloplordon in the chat says Zoidberg will be the Axel Asher access.
Oh my
of the
god!
Comic book YouTube channels. That is a deep cut, and that's awesome.
Yes, love it. Oh my god, poor Axel or Axis.
Funny thing. I was at DC last week filming something, and sometimes around DC they just have boxes of back issues, that like old stuff. They're like kind of clearing out. Thing. Brendan Thorpe said this podcast sucked. Well, you suck.
Yeah, eat it. I know,
get the hell out of here.
He's the hipster of the chat who's like, he said that nobody complained. I will complain.
Well, anyways, so in the back issues of DC, I actually was going through them, and they had unlimited access. The Axel.
No way.
I grabbed it because I thought it was so.
Yeah, unlimited access is the one where he went back in time, right?
Yes, he went back in time in the Marvel period. It was like the original Avengers fought the current JLA.
Yes. Okay. That's
Brendan
awesome.
Thorpe said, "Just kidding." So just kidding back at you.
There you go. Yeah, we took it back. Man, that all access book. I loved seeing Batman crash through the Sanctum Sanctorum and attacks Doctor Strange. Was one of the. I was like, this is worth the price of admission.
Yeah. I love Amalgam. I love all that stuff. I kind of wish
cool.
they would recollect Amalgam, but they're probably never going to do it.
I mean, like, we talked about this on one of our live shows. I was like, I think that in less than 20 years, Marvel and DC will finally get back together.
Oh, 100%. I think they will do it.
And so when they do, they should just start printing all their old crossovers.
Yes.
Bring them all back. And like, I mean, like, do you know like what the issue is with the split? I assume it's just 50-50, like whoever gets the publishing costs, but like...
You mean the split of Amalgam and stuff like
like
that?
Who gets what? Like when Marvel and DC co-publish a book, like I assume that like one of them absorbs the cost of printing and the other one takes like the retail sales or something like that. They figure out some kind of...
It depends. The only thing I can comment on that is I know how it works with IDW. Okay, so they did this book called... Star Trek Green Lantern, right? Published through IDW.
Great book.
It's an awesome book, and I'm so happy that they're getting a sequel.
And Batman TMNT.
Yeah, Batman TNT is getting a sequel too. That's fantastic.
Which I will drop right now. That's today's
Yeah.
back issues, by the way. Is Batman TMNT.
Oh, really? Not that much of a back issue.
No, but but I like to do the newer books every once in a while. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is cool.
But how they do it on that is so that book, Green Lantern Star Trek, is officially published by IDW.
Okay.
And IDW licenses the character of Green Lantern.
Oh, okay.
So there is so it's basically IDW's book.
Right.
And they're borrowing the Green Lantern character. So I assume they are paying a license fee. Do not quote me on this. I don't know. Okay. And then there is a DC editor. His name is Jim Chadwick. I know him. He's a very cool dude. Mm-hmm. He was the guy that edited. He's a DC editor, and he edited the Green Lantern Star Trek series. But IDW also has an editor. Mm-hmm. And Jim just makes sure that Green Lantern doesn't do anything that Green Lantern Hal Jordan wouldn't do.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But that's basically it, and it's basically a IDW book.
Right.
Now, for the Amalgam books, I know for a fact that 6 of them were exclusively produced by Marvel, 6 of them were exclusively produced by DC. So Marvel gets the money for those, DC gets the money for those. And from what I remember of DC versus Marvel, because we sort of did a video of this and we did some research on it.
It's an amazing video, by the way.
Thank you, man.
Check it out. Go to Jawiin, check it out.
Yeah, we did Marvel versus DC, the greatest crossover of the 90s, and it just came off the top of our heads. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
And from what they said on that, it was like issue 1 and issue 4 were Marvel,
yes.
And then 2 and 3 were DC.
Yeah, and I think Busiek got one, and David got the other, or something like that.
Yeah, it was Peter David and Kurt Busiek, and then there was Dan Jurgens and Claudio
Castelli or Castellini, or
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird, but that's the whole reason why it's tough to see those. Now, in terms of crossing over Batman, Daredevil, and stuff like that, well, the reason we haven't seen characters like that, from what I understand, is there was some bad blood from back in the early 2000s.
Yes, as I remember it, and this is not getting you in hot water, so it's okay, I think to say, Joe Quesada said some negative things about DC editorial in an interview with Playboy magazine.
Oh, is that specifically what it was?
That's what I had heard. It was an interview it was in a high-profile interview with Playboy magazine, and Joe Quesada was really salty about DC because he didn't leave under good terms with DC, and then became editor-in-chief of Marvel, and took that opportunity to say really, really oddly specific and negative things about DC, and specifically editorial. And I think Leavitz said he was never that as long as Quesada worked there, they'd never cross over.
Wow.
And I'm now he's not editor-in-chief, come on!
That's crazy. Well, all I'll say about that is that, hey, kids, when you're working for professional companies...
Yeah, keep your mouth shut.
Respect your P's and Q's and be a professional.
You never know who your boss is going to be. That's always been a thing that we've had.
You never know who you're going to wind up with.
That's right.
So that's Quesada's fault. That sucks. I would love to see them. There has been... and I had a little bit of a chat with this at Greg Capullo at New York Comic Con last year. Greg Capullo would love to draw a Spawn Batman crossover.
He almost did. Did you see the art for that when they did Spawn Batman 2?
Well, he wants to do a new... He was just free associating.
Right.
Off this. Again, none of this is official or anything like that.
No.
He said that he would love to do one where it was him drawing and Todd and Scott Snyder were co-writing.
That would be a dream.
I'm in. Make it happen.
That's sight unseen. Capullo drawing it, and I don't even know who writes it. Sight unseen, I'm buying the book.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I actually have no doubt that we'll see a Spawn Batman crossober in our lifetimes.
Oh, again. Easily. Oh, yeah.
Easily.
It won't be written by Miller, but it will happen.
No. Well, I don't know. It might, because Frank Miller is doing Dark Knight 3 right now. So
yes. Well, yeah. And possibly 4.
and possibly 4, possibly 5. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Jesus. I will say, I have my, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick up my camera and share this.
Okay.
I got my Spawn Batman poster in my office here.
You do? Oh my God.
This is torn from a Wizard magazine.
Oh man! I've saved the Wizard magazine. Oh, you framed it! Look at you!
I framed it. I am a huge nerd.
Oh,
I was just you know what?
I have a Howard Porter JLA Wizard magazine poster that I've saved.
Man, they made some good posters. I found one.
They did, dude, and I was such a stupid kid for not saving them.
No, I I remember when I ripped open my Death of Superman polybag and just put the Death of Superman Funeral for a Friend poster on my door. And it was there a lot longer than it should have been.
Oh,
and it was just torn to shreds from use and pass. Yeah. But,
same for me, the Batman 500, the Asbats.
Oh, yeah.
I actually had a fan of my videos. He just sent me all 4 of the Reign of Superman issues.
Oh, nice. The ones with the opening covers where it like had the cutouts.
Yeah, he said that he sent them to me because of the posters.
That's
because
awesome.
I mentioned how awesome those old posters were on. If I could turn my, because I actually have an iMac that I'm
okay, so yeah, you had to pick it up and everything. Yeah.
But up here, I have an old comic retailer's poster of Kyle Rayner's first issue.
That's really cool.
Where it's like first issue in February.
That's a great first issue cover too.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. So yeah, there you go.
Well, I think we've if we haven't talked the issue to death, we've certainly talked the episode to death. So thank you guys for checking out this episode of Elseworlds Exchange. And of course, before you go, definitely go to the description, click on the link that is right there for Jason Inman's amazing Jawiin channel. Check it out, and like and subscribe. Check out the show, and we'll see you guys next time. Another episode.
Can I shout out something really quick before we
go?
Please do.
Yeah. No, pump it out.
So this was just announced yesterday. IDW and DC are co-publishing a Love is Love anthology.
Yes.
And it is to help support the Orlando Pulse victims from that terrible tragedy that happened.
Yep.
It is $10. It's 140 pages. It comes out in December, and all the proceeds will go to charity for the victims.
Yeah.
There's some amazing big names in it. Patton Oswalt, Damon Lindelof. I think Brian Michael Bendis was announced as well. James Tynion. Whole bunch of guys. Mark Andreyko, the writer of Batwoman, put this together. And I want to say, go find it. Go tell your comic shop to order it. Also, because I have a page in it that I co-wrote with Ashley Rock.
Nice. So, congratulations, man. That rocks.
It's really cool that my page snuck in with all those group. But it's more important that you buy that book to support the charity.
That's right. Good call. Good shout, man.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everybody out there knew about it.
Totally. Anything happening on your channel that you want to pimp out that you're looking forward to sharing with everybody?
I don't know. Every week we do Jason Talks Geek, which is us just chatting about the news and stuff like that.
It's a great
show. We recently did this video called DC versus Marvel, we sort of mentioned, and I think we are going to start... I think we're going to start doing more conversational videos like that because a lot of people really dug it. So... I don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah.
but I do know that we also do this other series called Stories You Should Read. And coming up next week is Luke Cage, followed by Supergirl.
Oh, sweet.
So there you go.
Nice. I'm looking forward to
thank you for the shout out.
Oh, of course.
And I love coming on Elseworlds Exchange. So I'm hoping I can pop in once a month.
Yeah, me too, man. I didn't want to say anything officially, but yes. Yes, hopefully we'll see you next month.
It's the goal. Schedule holds.
Yeah, right? And in 2 weeks, we'll be at New York Comic Con, so definitely, if you are going, come by, say hi, we'll see you there, and hopefully, if schedules permit, you'll see more of Jason on this channel on a more official capacity as well. So
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, by the way. It's an honor and a privilege.
It's so great to have you, man. So anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot for watching, and, this episode will also be released officially on Friday, so if you're live here, I hope you enjoyed it. And
Zoidberg is going to Sal.
And keep an eye out for Zoidberg. See you later.